I would not be touching a pre-construction project right now.
Please don't.
It's getting a little bit out of hand. There's been 2,800 GTHA condo units that were actually canceled in 2024. This is the most since 2020, when half of the country was shut down due to a pandemic. I've had countless buyers reach out to me who've purchased something pre-construction in the past couple of years, and the story seems to be the same every single time. Mike, I don't know if this project is even going to make it to the point where they crack ground. And we are seeing this happen across the GTHA. It's not a rare story that I'm hearing. So let's dive into an article I have here on stories.com. 2024 was a remarkably tough year for new condos in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area for anybody who invested them. If you've been paying attention to the channel, condos, they've been really beat up over the last 4.5 years or so, and it doesn't seem like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It seems like things are getting worse before they get better. If you need guidance on making the right decision to purchase something, there are tons of videos on our channel, but you can always just make a comment in the comment section down below, and I'm happy to share my opinion on whether you should move forward with a specific project and at least talk it through with you. So anybody who's invested in these condos, there has been some issues, to say the least. This is evidenced by the fact that 14 condo projects were canceled in 2024 alone, according to data provided to stories.com by research and consultancy firm, once again, Urban Nation. These projects were anticipated to add about 2,800, give or take, units to the GTHA market. The Urban Nation president, Sean Hildebrand, tells stories.com that this is the highest number of units that has been canceled since 2020, which, as just mentioned, that was when things were all shut down, and they had 3,087 units that were actually canceled across 10 different projects. He also notes that of the 14 projects that were canceled in the last year, 6 of them were actually converted to rental, totaling 1,434 units. And speaking to the fact that the sentiment surrounding the actual rental development in 2024 was markedly more positive. We're seeing more and more of this. I know if I'm driving around town, I'm definitely seeing more luxury rental signs than I am seeing condo development signs. Are you seeing the same thing in the city that you live in? It's quite possible, because the builders, if they're not able to sell through all their units, they are obviously going through the process here of converting them into these luxury rentals to make it maybe work in terms of getting their money out of the project and not going into the whole receivership and bankruptcy. Excuse me, they're a little tongue-tied. Receivership and bankruptcy situation. So there's a whole bunch that are in receivership, as we just mentioned, and they have paused the sales. They're very likely to cancel, but they haven't actually given any purchasers their deposits back yet. Hildebrand adds, it's difficult to put a number out there, but there are likely more cancellations coming in 2025. So this headline today is not the last that you're going to see about the condos in the GTHA, or GTA for that matter, where we've got issues with them, or people are losing their money, or companies are going bankrupt. So let's keep going here. This all goes hand in hand with the fact that the GTHA has just experienced its worst year for pre-sales since 1996. According to Urban Nation year-end condo market report released Thursday, it actually showed that 4,590 transactions were recorded in 2024, and that figure marks the third consecutive year of decline, including a 64% decline from 12,000 and change sales that were observed in 2023. The number of transactions that were actually recorded in 2024 is also 78% short of the 10-year average for the metric, which is actually 20,000. So it's a big drop off between the two. Myself, I actually did get into the pre-construction market. We had got into it in the tail end of 2019 and 2020. I will share with you my experience getting into the pre-construction market. Some of you might be in the comment section saying you might have got fleeced as well, or maybe you've done fairly well. But I'm going to share with you what happened in my pre-construction experience once we get through this article and I give you the full details here. So looking at just the fourth quarter alone, Urban Nation reports that 802 units were pre-sold, up to 12% from the quarter before, but it's still down 71% year over year. These numbers are just massive and representing the lowest fourth quarter sales since 1993. I was born, but I was just a baby. These numbers are just not looking great. When we're seeing condo numbers, they are definitely pulling us below the year 2000 time and time again. But getting back to 1993, we don't have time machines, but the real estate market is trying to send us there for some reason. So against the sluggish backdrop, just 6 condos projects actually launched for pre-sales in all of the fourth quarter. Even more dismal, just 10% of the 1,829 units launched actually sold. 10% selling is rough. A lot of the time the builders have to sell 50 to 75% before they can even crack ground. 10%, I don't really know what to say here. The number of projects launched and sold last quarter paled in comparison to the 10-year average for Q4 periods. 6,123 new units with a 52% average sales rate. In any case, those who chose to launch projects in the fourth quarter did so while offering a discount. New projects were launched at an average price per square foot of $1,130 in Q4, according to Urban Nation. This is the lowest since Q2 of 2021 and down 15% compared to new launches in Q4 of 2023. Meanwhile, there were 24,000 unsold condo units in various stages of development in 2024. Well, we knew that there might be about 40,000, but obviously there is some cancellations here, but we're still north of 20,000 units that went unsold. That's a lot of units. That's all I gotta say here. And 50% above the 10-year average of 16,154 units. Thursday's report said that it would take 64 months to currently clear unsold inventory at the 2024 level of sales, a record high that is nearly 6 times higher than the balanced level of inventory, which is a 10 to 12 month supply. Wow. And let's keep going. Let's just keep going and hearing all this bad news about Toronto condos and the GTHA here. So as was the case, these newly launched units, overall new condo prices came at a discount, of course. The fourth quarter as well averaged $1,338 per square foot. The figure is actually down 3% year over year and is also 5% below the average price per square foot recorded in Q4 of 2022. In the press release, Urban Nation President Sean Hildebrand reiterates that the GTHA new condo market has just come off the toughest in 30 years. Expectations for the market remain very low this year as investors, the primary driver of these pre-sales generally, are keeping their feet, hands, toes, every single part of their body outside of the pre-construction market because they don't want to deal with the negative cash flow. With difficulty arranging financing, declining prices, and rents, he adds the drop in pre-sale activity will continue to cripple construction starts in 2025. This is going to cause massive decrease in new supply beginning 2026 and 2027. We're already starting to see the drop off, and it does seem that Urban Nation reporting 1,506 new condos started construction in the fourth quarter, representing 59% decrease year over year. Over the entirety of 2024, just 9,200 units were started, down 51% from 18,000 units in 2023, and 56% off of the average of 21,000 the last year that the level condos were this low. We didn't quite go below the year 2000, but it was 2002. Meanwhile, just 78,000 new condos were under construction in the GTHA at the end of 2024. That represents the lowest number of units being sold since the second quarter of 2020. In terms of condo completions, 10,000 plus units were wrapped up as of the fourth quarter, which is great, marking a 71% rise year over year. In total, there were a record high number of completions in 2024 at 2,900 units, which is 24% higher than 2023 completions and 61% higher than the 10-year average for this specific metric. According to Thursday's report, completions are set for another record high in 2025, with 30,000 units scheduled to finish construction. So finishing construction and actually selling or being built are two completely different things. And I promised you I would tell you about my pre-construction story. And I did purchase pre-construction back at the tail end of 2019. This pre-construction project I am extremely thankful for because the project made it through to its final step. construction was built. The problem when you're buying pre-construction is you're hoping that the price goes up. You're hoping that you're able to find a tenant that is going to be a great fit for you, or you're hoping that it works for you in your specific situation from maybe the point at which you bought it to the point you're at now. So I bought this pre-construction project not having any children. Then, of course, life changes, time changes, you have kids, you're not gonna move into a one-bedroom condo with a couple kids. So things change, you're forced to do what you need to do with this specific unit. We've thankfully found a great tenant to put in the unit, but it's a wake-up call to a lot of people because we are renting this at a loss. There's no money in pocket here. So if you think you are going to buy something pre-construction, rent it out, make some money, maybe the price goes up from when you bought it from the builder, it's not always a guarantee. We're lucky enough where we bought it, we haven't lost money per se yet. The market is doing whatever it's doing, but we are renting it at a loss. Unfortunately, we can't just sell that unit when it was completed because there are all sorts of stipulations in terms of doing that when you already own a property. But it's something to keep in mind. If you are thinking of getting into the pre-construction market, there's obviously a lot going on. As we've already discussed, there's issues beyond what a lot of us are able to control. But what we can control is where we put our money, how we invest it properly into real estate, and whether pre-construction makes any sense in the GTA or the GTHA. Personally, right now, if I had the money to buy something, even if I wanted to maybe only move in 3 to 5 years, I would not be touching a pre-construction project right now. This is just my opinion. You might be watching this, you might have had great experiences with pre-construction, and my experience has not been a bad one. Don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't be putting my money into something where the unknown for the next 3 to 4 years is this dramatic. We're seeing the condo market get drilled in the news day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out since 2021. Because of that, I would stay far away. If you want to get into real estate, I would go resale. If you still want a condo, there's a lot of options out there. You don't have to move right in. You can always rent out what you do purchase. That's always an option for you. There's no pressure if you're not ready to move into a property to actually move in. You can still invest in real estate and move in when you are ready. Now, let's kind of dissect this article a little bit here. So we have obviously 2,800 condo units that were canceled in 2024. There's more cancellations that are coming in 2025, probably in 2026. And because of that, we're hearing that potentially, well, I've got a message coming somewhere here, but potentially because of these cancellations, we're going to get a crisis or a lack of inventory. But that's a long ways out for us to worry about at this point. What we need to do is figure out what these developers are actually going to do. Are they going to maybe cancel a project that you have already invested in? Are you holding on to the paperwork for a pre-construction project that you've personally invested in with the uncertainty of whether that project is even going to make it from start to the finish line and you're going to get the keys for that unit? Something you really have to consider, because at any point in time before that ground is cracked, the builder could go into receivership, go bankrupt, maybe decide that that project's not going to go through because there's not enough sales. They will give you your deposit back in a lot of cases, but what's the market doing in the meantime? Maybe you could have bought a condo and made a little bit of money or already been in there, or maybe you'll be okay. A lot of different things to consider. So if you were considering getting into pre-construction market, I would use this article as another warning not to do so. Condos in general are definitely on the more affordable side of things in the Toronto area. Now, because condos are more affordable, you're gonna have a little bit more competition on the cheaper ones than on the more expensive ones. So 1-bedroom condos, 1-bedroom plus den, that's where you're going to have maybe some competition between buyers. But what you're going to be competing on is not the tons of inventory that's out there. You're really just going to be competing on the good units. There's some bad layouts. You're going to be competing on these ideal 1-bedroom layouts, ideal 1-bedroom plus den layouts. Maybe they have parking included plus the locker. So you're going to be competing on the things that are good. The things that are bad are going to sit. You're going to get a great deal on them, but you got to think about resale. As with anything else, if you buy something, eventually you might want to sell it. You got to take all that into consideration, and you might want to just get a little bit of advice before you make that big decision. If I can help you in any way, you can always text me at the number here on screen. One of these, oh, I'm doing the guns. One of these corners here, and I'd be happy to assist you in the GTHA or the GTA. And I got another message coming in. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have been through one of these condo cancellations in the GTHA, I would love to know your experience in the comment section down below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.